Okay, guys. First of all, I would say a ton of respect for how our team showed up, the attitude, the effort. I thought the intensity was there. The collective group came to play. Had a chip on our shoulder. Effort was not lacking. And I do think that we were physical, we were tough, we were aggressive. Obviously, really impressed with our defensive play to start the game with 3 and outs and obviously hold them to 10 first downs. In general, really impressive tape. I thought the just same page, fundamentals, tackling, coverage, created a takeaway, close to getting another one. And I think played really well. I thought our kicking game plan worked. I thought we neutralized both returners. We were able to win the hidden yardage in the game, and obviously the special teams plan was really good. And look, I think 23 first downs, we had 366 yards and moved the ball. Obviously not enough points, and I think the penalties were a factor. And in general, the takeaways were the difference in the game. And a couple in critical situations right before half. I think obviously the pick six and then the possession there at the 36 when we're at the kick line down 10 where we can make it a one-score game. So in general, I think we're really, really close. Just looking at the tape, we need to find a way to play with more consistency on offense going forward and then, help. I think I'm always of the opinion that when the student maybe struggles on the test, as a teacher, you got to take a good look in the mirror. And for me, that's what it's about. So I've got to do a better job helping DJ in that regard. So, I do think that defensively we have a very solid unit. I think we have the ability to create some advantages in the kicking game, and we got to just continue to evolve here as DJ gets more and more time and more work. So, this Miami team that we're getting ready to play has capable weapons in all parts of their team. I think the defensive coordinator hire has benefited them. I think they're improved. I think the fundamentals, the tackling, the leveraging coverage, and they have some really unique front players, good players at every level. Obviously, Carson Beck being the quarterback, they have a veteran presence there. This is an O-line that's played a ton of football, and a group of running backs that are big and heavy. And the skill continues to get better each week. A lot of new faces at receiver, whether portal or freshman. But I think the specialists play. The returners are dangerous. They have height, length, team speed. So the collective, you combine the offense, defense, and the kicking game. Coach Cristobal's done a nice job there with their program, and they've got a good team. This will require us to be at our best, much like last week in that regard. And I do think we've got to go play on the road again, and it'll be a big one there at night with game day there. So what questions do we have?
Billy, you have discussed the systems being in place, infrastructure, happy with roster you were pleased with, but it's not translating to wins. Why do you think that?
Well, I think, this team in particular that we have, I think a lot of our team is excelling at a high level. I think we got to understand who we are, where we're at relative to our situation, and then we have to keep improving. I think, really, in my opinion, if we were able to kind of get back in our rhythm offensively, and generate points and yards, we could be tough to deal with. So I think that's the point of emphasis in my mind, because I do think we've excelled so far on defense and in the kicking game. We got to continue to do better. We know we're going to face more challenges in the future, so that'll be the true test. But yeah, we got to keep evolving there, and DJ's got to continue to improve as we go. We have to play with a little more precision and consistency around him. But in general, that's kind of who we are as a team right now after 3 games.
You were here in this position again last year, 1 and 2. Yeah, and we asked you, do you feel like you're coaching for your job at this point?
Yeah, no, I think I'm trying to solve problems. I think, you're trying to find the right combination of things to help. And look, I mean, we're a handful of plays away from winning that game Saturday. So I think you got to try to be as objective as you can, and you got to get consumed with how you help the players. How do you help the players improve? How do you help position the players in a little bit better spot here or there, and keep the human element intact? That's the really important part. So, I do think, in my opinion, a man is not defeated until he blames someone else, right? So I think it's key, for us to, evaluate what we can do, every individual within the team and organization to contribute and help us get better.
Going back to your teacher-student test analogy with DJ,
Yeah.
where do you think you can help him pre-snap, pre-read, all of that stuff, footwork?
Yeah, I just think in general, conceptually, I think that obviously a week of prep, exposing him to some of those things maybe, and then just continue to coach, continue to the practice environment, the importance of each repetition, the quality of the rep, try to recreate the game for him during the week, and just know where he's at relative to the missed time in spring ball and training camp. So, it is what it is at this point. We've seen him at his best, and then we've seen him struggle. So I think the important part is we try to get him back to where he can play winning football, which we know he's very capable of.
What about his confidence level? It has to take in a little bit of a hit there when you throw 5.
Yeah, no, I think, listen, there's going to be some healthy things that come from this. If you play that position, these days happen to you, and certainly in the SEC at the highest level of football in the National Football League, you're going to go to the park sometimes and make some mistakes and struggle. So even the great ones, and I think we have to keep things in perspective here relative to how much experience he has, the offseason that he's been through. I think it's important to evaluate things from that perspective and not necessarily on one performance.
Value experience, is there any thought about giving elevator reps, whether in practice or in a game, to someone like Aiden Warner or Harrison Bailey?
Say that one more time.
Given the need for experience, is there any thought to maybe give more first-team practice reps?
So give the third and the fourth guy reps?
Do you think that the value of experience would help in that regard?
Aiden has more experience than DJ? No, he doesn't. And I think you'd probably be hard-pressed to add up Harrison's reps, and they'd probably be less than DJ. So that's not a very good question. Tramel Jones is the backup quarterback. All right, let's focus on what we can do from a technical perspective to help the kid play better, okay? Next question.
Back in some of DJ's overthrows being just kind of uncharacteristic for him, like the deeper ones compared to last year. Do you see that as mechanical, or is it, again, like contributed to this offseason? They seem uncharacteristic of him.
What's the question?
DJ's overthrows that he's had on a lot of these deep balls throughout the 3 weeks so far, they seem uncharacteristic for a quarterback who last year really did a good job of throwing deep, accurate. What do you make of those?
You're talking about the 4th interception where the ball sailed.
Not necessarily just that one, but last week the one to Tony, for example.
Right.
The crosser to Vernell week 1, those are ones he has in the past really put on the money.
Sure. No, I think, I think that he's like any pitcher, batter, or shooter. I think there's going to be occasions where you miss. The key is you play within the system, You take what the defense gives you. Eventually, they give you the game. You try to finish every possession with a kick. You got to make decisions and value the football. And you got to have situational awareness about the context of the game. You know, what's the down and distance? What's the field zone? How much time's on the clock? You know, I can deal with the ones where we miss. You know, maybe we're a little inaccurate. It's a great play by the other team. I'm really two of the interceptions are the ones that get me the most. You know, I'm thinking those are the ones right before half, and the one at the kick line on the 36. The others are going to happen. You know, I think for him, that's my job as a coach, is to help him understand the situation. So that would be, you know, the point of emphasis with me is the Mayday 2 minute before the half. You know, where you got the ball 10-10, 32 seconds left or something like that. That's where we don't give it to the other team, right? We're trying to be calculated on a third down. If we convert, we have a chance to throw it in the field goal range and maybe steal 3 and go take it right before the half. But we certainly are not throwing it into coverage and giving them the ball back and giving them the opportunity to score points. At worst, we're incomplete, and we punt the ball away and we let the defense run out there, right? And then when you're down 10 and you're at the 36, you're on the kick line, right? So you got to manage the kick line, and you want your kicker to come out and have an opportunity to make it a one-score game with about 4 minutes to go. So those are the two. When we talk about getting, you know, him learning, him evolving, him developing as a quarterback, those are two that we want to, you know, make sure that he remembers and learns, because he's going to be put in those situations again in the future.
You talked about DJ needing to improve his progressions. How much does his footwork need to improve as well, and how problematic has that been so far this season?
Yeah, I think when he misses, his feet are off. You know, we're probably getting a little too technical there, but in general, all these things, he's playing the hardest position in all of sports, you know, so and I think that defensive group that he played against was really good. So you got to always remember that the mental contributes to the physical, you know. So got to be airtight from a progression standpoint. Typically, that allows you to anticipate better, to be a little bit sharper with your feet, and the ball ends up going to the right spot. So, look, the guy made some mistakes. This is more about what we do going forward than it is what happens in the past, okay? And I think, you know, our ability to work hard to help him, to create a good plan for him, to create a great week of prep, and then his ability to move forward and be process-oriented. Every one of those situations are very correctable, and he'll be better as a result of it. You know, you know, I think everybody can agree that the only way you improve is you go through difficult things, difficult circumstances. You got to embrace that. And, you know, one thing about him, he's an elite competitor. He's tough-minded, and he'll show up angry today. I can promise you that.
His 2 throws that he made to Aiden, it looked like his footwork was perfect on those 2 passes.
Right.
Is that something that you can show to him on tape? And also, is that something that, as a coach, when you see him make those throws, does that give you the confidence, like, man, he's right there?
Yeah, I feel that same way. Yeah, that's exactly what we've been coaching.
How difficult is it to see Caleb work so hard and then go down like that, and is he done for the season?
Yeah, Caleb re-injured his foot. Obviously, we'll have an injury report for you on Wednesday, but in general, it was great for him to be back out there, and we'll report the injuries on Wednesday night.
You've been in this for 20 years now at this level.
21.
Well, yeah, but it's South Carolina State, but I mean, Clemson at 06, I think. But whatever it is, you've been at the highest level for a long time. And it's changed a lot. How do you keep the noise out now? What's the challenge with the players, with yourself? I mean, your demeanor stays very even-keeled, but how do you do it, and how do you keep that noise out of here?
Yeah, I love being on a team. You know, I think this is been doing it a long time, you know. So, look, this is a hard game, right? I think, we've been in the locker room on the other ends of these things, you know, and I think that's what we do it for, right? So, I do think that as a leader, you got an obligation to the people that you're responsible for, and I think that's the important part to me. Because, look, we're right in the middle of this battle, right? I mean, or war, you would say. Each week's a battle. So we got to play again Saturday, right? So you got to remain objective. You got to try to keep it technical for the players. If I didn't feel good about the intangibles of the team, I think that's probably when I would be worried, you know. But I think this group turned it around and showed up and competed their tail off Saturday. And I think that, I think that they're a group that knows how they're that close. Like we got to, all parts of our team have to go play at a high level, given who we're playing, right? And I think that's where we're seeking that. And I think they know that. We know that. You know that. And I think that a lot of our guys are doing a heck of a job, man. I mean, so, yeah, we're close to being pretty dangerous, in my opinion.
I know you're disappointed, but how surprised are you how things have gone through 3 games?
I would say nothing surprises me anymore. Reality is, you got to show up every week. I don't care who you play. I mean, look at college football out there right now. So we're just as capable. We could easily be 3-0 right now, you know, so probably a dozen plays away from being 3-0. So you can look at it that way, or you can walk around here with your head hanging down, and that's certainly not what we're going to do, because we got a football game Saturday night. It's going to be an incredible opportunity, venue, great opponent, historic rivalry. I mean, that's what you do it for. So,
it seemed that you got your right tackle situation resolved with Caden there. Talk about the issues with the guards that you had, because you had 3 holding penalties and a false start and gave up a couple sacks over your guard play.
now let me say this about I do think Caden Jones played well in the game. You know, thought that was a bright spot. Did a lot of good things for a first start. Our issues with the holdings have been when we are moving, when the pocket. You know, we've been initially in great position. I think our issues have been when the quarterback escapes, extends. That's something that we need to emphasize. When that launch point starts changing, it's late in the down. Ultimately, the holdings have been called. The majority are in that situation. So, outside of that, I would say that, not a chink in the armor. I mean, I think that there's a lot of good plays, and then there's some that we can do better. But I don't necessarily feel like we got a problem there.
He was banged up in the offseason. How do you feel like he's been coming off an injury, and is he earning more playing time with the way that he's been performing?
He played more Saturday, and I thought he was productive. And I think as he's gotten healthy, look, Aiden, when he's available, he's been impactful, right? So it's one of the keys for him to continue to be a successful football player is to be available, right? So, but when we need him to be available because he can make a difference in the game for us.
This time of the year when you got to be game prep, and that so limits your practice time, how difficult is it to correct your mistakes and get better? I mean, I know how well last year, for example, the open date did for you.
Yeah, no, I think where we're at right now, I think we're really close. We just got to keep chipping away at it. I think some of these positions can improve throughout the season. We do quite a bit of good on good. We have the depth in the walk-ons to have a quality scout team. I mean, I think it's more about the intent than it is the design of the practice. But we'll get 16 plays of good on good out there on Tuesday and Wednesday. And I think that those benefit the players, And I think really the middle of your roster benefits in a major way in that regard.
Billy, you guys were very opportunistic down the stretch last year defensively. What's it going to take to get back to that? Like I talked about, like
Yeah.
you made the point about like down and distance and things the other night
Yeah.
fairly. But, you know, Carson Beck, you guys played him last year, rattled him pretty good. I think maybe 3 interceptions.
Yeah, I think the key, you know, like, to me, defense, 3 and outs are important. You know, I think you pair 3 and outs and takeaways with the ability, you know, right now, if we can force the other team to punt and it's not a hang punt, that's an opportunity for a big play with VB3 back there. So I think for us, you know, we made a point of emphasis to get more 3 and outs, to create more short fields. We did that the other night. We played on more short fields, you know, compared to maybe the South Florida game, for example. I do think that takeaways is an area where we got to keep putting takeaway behavior on the film because we know that leads to it. And, you know, I thought there was a lot more on the tape Saturday. But just in general, I think it's about 3 and outs. It's about takeaways. And then we got to play complementary football. You're not going to win if you turn the ball over 5 times. I don't know when the last time that's happened, but got to know who we are as a team, and we got to play that way. So ultimately, that's going to be important for us going forward.
Miles Graham. I mean, he's like I think he's 19 still.
Yeah.
And he comes in after these games and and these guys beyond.
Yeah, incredible parents. I think his parents have done a great job exposing him to things. He's extremely intelligent. Obviously, the education he had, different places he's been. I think his dad being in a professional environment. His mom's very impressive. And just the family in general. I think he's a product of how he was raised, the people he's been around.
You said you feel like you're very close, maybe just a few plays away. I know you can't read your players' minds, but do you sense that they feel the same way, or they dejected, or they feel like, hey, we're close?
Yeah, no, I think if you were in that locker room after the game, you would sense, yeah, I mean, they put it on the line. They came up a little short, and I think that they realized it was within their grasp, and they maybe let it slide away. So, look, we have to we have to invest this experience, right? It was a powerful moment, and we cannot waste it. You know, we got to invest it. So I think the important part here is that we take that experience. These guys have incredible relationships. You know, I think they got to be great teammates. You know, when you take accountability, that kind of frees you up, you know, and you can move forward. And the minute you start blaming somebody else, then you're giving somebody else control, you know. And I think it's important that we have the mindset that we dictate, we decide. It's how we prepare, how we practice, how we play. And I think we have enough talent in that locker room. If we can get our best is good enough, I still believe that. We're going to keep pursuing that.
Really, not trying to play gotcha, but since you guys are going out of conference this week, there won't be an availability report Wednesday. Just since Caleb was in the boot on crutches, is it safe to assume that this is a longer-term injury?
Yes, sir.
There was a play, the game was basically over, LSU was running out the clock, they break off a big run, and then you see Cormani McLean coming down full speed, 110%, even though, you know, the game's almost over. What does that speak about his character as someone who kind of came in and that was a huge question mark about the kid?
Yeah, no, I'm proud of Cormani. You know, he started the game. He had a good week of practice. Again, we told you we got 3 corners that we consider starters, all really good players. Devin, Dede, and Cormani continue to get better. I think they're the best they've been in their careers. And I think they all 3 have shown maturity. Cormani, you know, had some discipline issues when he first got here, and those have faded away. He's still growing and maturing. There's a high ceiling there. But the main thing, his attitude is where it needs to be, and he's got the right mindset. So I'm proud of him. He's talking a lot more. He's communicating better. He's presenting himself well, and I think he's being a good teammate. So, and he's just going to keep getting better. He's still a very young man. All right. Thank you all.